On this episode of ResiWeek, Amazon Alexa releases an Echo Spot, Ring has a new alarm system, and Sonos and D&M are headed to trial. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Peerless AV, the official outdoor display provider of Daytona International Speedway, and by Harman International.
This is ResiWeek episode 87, To Serve Alexa.
This is ResiWeek.
Welcome to ResiWeek. This is your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Amy Madden. She is the residential market manager for Draper, and she can talk today and here. How you doing, Amy?
I'm good. Thank you. It's definitely a step up from CEDIA. I was struggling there.
Yeah, you had the most eventful CEDIA out of everyone. Not only did you lose your voice, you then, ruptured an eardrum on the flight home?
I did. It was the most excruciating flight I've ever had.
I bet. Just blame United. I'm sure it was their fault. Then
even though I didn't fly them, it was their fault.
Exactly. It was totally United's fault. We are not getting sponsored by United. All right. There we go. Last but not least, we have Jason Knott. He is the editor of CE Pro. And if you missed him at CEDIA, you missed a good time. He was all over the place, but rocking the fantastic Rob Burgundy impression. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
I'm a little disappointed you didn't wear the suit today. I was kind of hoping for it.
It's my alter ego has been rubbing everybody in the office the wrong way. Let's just put it that way.
Terrible. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right in. This comes to us from the New York Times. Amazon wants you to wake up with Alexa, and that's just the start. Last week, Amazon had a fairly large event. They released a bunch of fun new Echo products. Specifically 3 years ago when they originally released the Echo. This time they have essentially done a nice rebrand. They introduced the Echo Spot, which is designed to sit on a nightstand, a desk. It's quasi-alarm clock, quasi-touchscreen, with even some video conferencing and some other goodies rolled into it. They also updated the traditional Echoes with slightly smaller footprints, new wrapping, and most importantly, they lowered the price, saving you $80 on a device. So what I wanted to get into with this is, obviously they're doubling down on their strategy for Alexa, trying to get it into as many places as it seems to be humanly possible. But most importantly, Amy, is this going to strengthen the Alexa, say, install base, if you will? And by doing that, again, having multiple products, having lower price points, et cetera, what is this going to do to the other players in the market, especially, obviously, Google Home and the forthcoming Apple Pod or HomePod?
It's interesting because we really just at Draper got dialed into the whole Amazon thing fairly recently with our shades, tying shade controls in through that. But I think it's phenomenal. I mean, I look at my house, for example. I live in a two-story farmhouse, and I have two girls, and I think about, where these could all be placed across my house and the price point that they're at. And, it's very attractive to someone like me. I have our battery shades in our house, so I don't have a Control 4 or a long control system at home. Everything is kind of through RF, and this is something that would be, really easy and really attractive to the demographic that I am.
Very good. Jason, one of the things that kind of hit me in this article, and this was Jan Dawson, who's an analyst for Jackdaw Research. He said that, not only are they doubling down, but more importantly, it's reminding all of them that it doesn't necessarily need to make money on Echo hardware, Amazon that is, for their strategy to be successful. So when we look at our industry, we look at our channel, obviously we have Alexa kind of as the all-in-one. Everybody can get in and involved with that. And then you have the higher end stuff like Josh AI and like some of the things that, Crestron's doing, integrating with voice and some of the other manufacturers out there. Given that Amazon doesn't necessarily seem to care if they're making money directly on the hardware sales, what does that mean for the industry and specifically those higher end partners?
Well, it's funny because I had an integrator the other day equate Amazon to, remember the classic Twilight Zone episode, To Serve Man, where the Kahnemans come down and they're going to help heal the world, so to speak. And then it turns out they're taking everybody in their spaceship to their planet, and it turns out that the book gets translated, and it's a book on how to cook. It's a cookbook. It's on a book on how to cook humans and eat them. So, so his speculation was: is Amazon, is Alexa the To Serve Man cookbook? And it's getting us all enamored and all, frothing at the mouth about how great it is. And it is really cool. I mean, I came home on Black Friday last year, and my wife was all excited because she bought a bunch of stuff because there was a special only on if you bought it through Alexa. And right then it clicked with me. It's all about that. It's all about the e-commerce. Google Home, it's all about the search engine optimization. They're going to make their money on the search engine side. Amazon's going to make their money on people buying stuff from them. So for us, for the integrators, I think it's not really a full integration. I mean, there's a really good article that Julie Jacobson, my colleague, did that's up on CE Pro right now that really kind of dives into the releases of what they did. They picked Zigbee as the control. She speculates as to why they didn't choose something else. Some of the full setup isn't really exactly what you would say at the integration level. So some of they call it smart home groups and routines are not fully capable, but it's giving people the sense that they could do home automation. And if that rising tide raises all ships, then eventually that's going to spill to the custom installation industry. But you're right. I don't know that they do really care about this space. I mean, I would ask the question, Amy's in a good position as being the manufacturer. Would you consider Amazon to be a technology company or not?
No, we consider them to be a distributor.
Yeah, I would agree. And yet here they are. They're coming in with a lot of this hardware. I really don't think they're a technology company at its heart, an engineering company, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that begs the question, though, if they are a distributor, if they're not a technology company, is there a reason why dealers would not just leverage that little bit of technology from the distribution company to further their business?
Oh, there's no reason why they shouldn't. I mean, they're gonna. And in fact, like I said, rising tide raises all ships. Amazon, the agreement, if everybody, I'm sure you guys talked about it already, the agreement that CEDIA made with Amazon Home Services, 2 out of every 10 customers that comes for their free consultative service wants more. And they don't have the ability to do that. So, if 20% of all the people that use Amazon Home Services get fed into the custom installation industry, that's a big chunk of business.
That's a huge chunk of business.
Huge. Yeah. I do have to laugh, though. Did you notice one of the things that it says? Why do you need video conferencing on a device that's going to be in your bedroom?
Well, I don't know if I want to divulge the reasons that I would video conference from my bedroom.
You know what I'm saying?
No, but
I just find it interesting that functionality is included on a device that they specifically designed to be like an alarm clock for your bedside table.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. But we had the same concerns with the was it the Alexa Look that came out or was announced previous that's supposed to help you pick your clothes better and do that same thing. It's the camera for your bedroom. I'm not half the time. I don't want a phone in my bedroom, let alone a camera.
Yeah. Sorry, I digress, but I had to ask.
No.
And I'll also note, Matt, it's interesting that they are addressing the Sonos element in this too. I don't know if you noticed that there was a line in there that they have in quote unquote better sound out of the product with a dedicated tweeter and a larger woofer. So they're trying to cut Sonos out at the knees a little bit too here.
I think everyone's trying to cut Sonos out, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's move on from that to a story that comes to us from CE Pro, and this kind of dropped today, so we scrambled to throw it on. This is from Julie Jacobson. The Ring Protect is shattering price barriers for security monitoring and video storage. If you don't know Ring, they're the makers of the Ring video doorbell. You see them on CNN and ESPN, as well as all over Home Depot and Best Buy and things like that. They have, in the spirit of the Google Nest Protect device that was announced last week, they've brought out their own professional security monitoring system. This is a combination of some motion sensors, what looks like a CO2 smoke sensor, as well as door sensors to create a smart home alarm system. Now, what is most exciting or interesting about this is that the starter kit is going to cost only $200 with a $10 a month fee for no contract monitoring, i.e. if you are already using a Ring doorbell, you're paying $3 a month for that remote video storage. Now you'll add $10 a month on top of that for monitoring of your alarm system. Jason, this is... We talked about this as we were leading up to it. This seems to be the last 2 weeks, the launch of a bunch of enclosed changes to the alarm system industry, I guess. Nest brought out their Protect at $500, fully self-enclosed, off-the-shelf type of thing. Best Buy announced a partnership with ADT that has the same type of application. Again, it's shipping with 2 or 3 pieces and a little base station hub that you can connect to all sorts of different things. Is this the end of traditional alarm systems for most consumers?
Well, I will go on record as saying that I believe in 5 years, 75% of all residential alarm systems will be do-it-yourself.
Wow.
And I think if you're a pure residential security dealer,
look out.
You've got to either move to the high end. There'll always be rich people. There'll always be that market will always be available. And the commercial security market with access control and high video or high analytics in the video space will still be available to them. But I think even if you add climate control and lighting control and those sorts of elements, you're going to really struggle as a residential alarm company unless you embrace this in some way, shape, or form. And we have guys out there who have traditional alarm installation businesses, and they have embraced a DIY portion or open up under another name, another company, and they use that. Remember, you're still getting the monitoring. That's the one key about this. The most security guys are in the monitoring business. So these systems still have monitoring to them. So there's still a viable market opportunity for integrators. But I think our own data shows that the standalone residential alarm system price for an installation has fallen by 1/3 in the last 7 or 8 years. So even if you're still in that business, you're getting 33% less than you got 5 years ago for it.
Well, and as we were talking just pre-show, you mentioned a statistic that you just heard at an event. Can you replay that?
Yeah, obviously Ring and ADT and these others that we're talking about are following in the footsteps of what's already been out there, which is the highly successful offerings from both Comcast and SimpliSafe. And I was up at a security event up in New York State Electronic Security Association event a couple weeks ago and spoke. And one of the central stations there mentioned that between those two systems alone, SimpliSafe and Comcast, they're adding 75,000 monitored accounts per month.
That's nuts. Amy,
No.
a friend of mine who's been on the show before, Mosey out of New York, he and I were going back and forth on Facebook 2 weeks ago, I think, trying to find an entry level alarm system, something that didn't have to be tied into a $50 a month monitoring service and things like that for a couple of our clients that just, they want something basic, want something out the door. When you look at the offerings that Ring has and how easily it will play with other things in that space, you look at what Nest is going to do and theoretically how effectively things will work with it. Again, as far as the client being able to adjust things and add different if-then statements and all that fun stuff that comes with kind of the DIY home automation. What are these products going to do to the mainstays like DSC, like Paradox, like Honeywell? Is it going to, obviously they'll still have the high end, but that's got to erode, especially when you look at something like this and say, hey, rather than spending $2,500 on hardware, I'm going to spend $400, cover the same amount of zones because I don't need that much more.
No, I completely agree with you. And I'm sitting here thinking about this as a user myself because I used to have ADT. I have now like a local company, probably very similar to one of our dealers, right, in the channel. I spend, I think it's $47 a month on monitoring. My initial setup was probably $2,000, and I just have my doors, with two motion sensors, and I'm clicking through this article on CE Pro, and I'm like, gosh, I could do all of my windows, and it would still be less than what my initial investment was 8 years ago when I moved into my home. I mean, that's attractive, I think you're right. You're going to have people that are either going to get really nervous and panic, or they're going to be smart and they figure out how to utilize this technology and expand their current business model.
Well, I think to pull off that point, I think when I look at these kind of products, I go, my integration company does not do a lot of alarms. We'll do a couple bespoke systems a year, and that is it. But when we do those bespoke systems, we would very rarely have the opportunity to come in after the fact and sell them lighting control or something else, because those bespoke systems have cost essentially so much that they're putting everything else off for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we did cameras and we did maybe some access and central alarm system based pieces. Looking at this, I see this as that great opportunity to think how many clients you can pick up with a $300 starter kit that takes an hour to install.
Well, we were just talking about Alexa. So you've got people controlling other technologies with their Alexa components.
Mm-hmm.
You've got things like Ring. And, like you said, you're able to do a lot more in your home now than anybody ever thought possible for a whole lot less money. And that's really exciting, I think. So, but the value that the dealer brings, at least from my perspective, is the ability to set it all up and to have it work seamlessly and to provide all of the product that integrates with the Alexa and with the Ring, because I don't know those things. You know what I mean? As Joe Schmo consumer out there, you watch the commercial on the Alexa on TV and they make it look like all you need is the Alexa. Well, we all know that that's not true, right? You have to have 100 other things that power all the other things you want it to do. But we don't know that. That's where the dealer has to become the expert and offer that to the consumer.
Yeah. So I think the final word on it is that it's really exciting. We'll have to see where it goes, see how it pans out. But again, that growing do it with me, do it for me market is evolving faster than anyone thought.
Matt, let me just interject. Yeah. You mentioned like DSC and some of the other manufacturers. The security panel manufacturers have figured this out. I mean, they're not behind the eight ball. DSC bought Qualsys several years ago, and they have a DIY option. NAPCO, Honeywell, all of the alarm panel manufacturers are serving both the DIY space as well as the professional installation space. So they're still selling hardware. You're probably selling more hardware.
Right. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to our last story of the day. This comes to us from strategy.com and Ted Green. In an epic legal battle, Sonos and D&M are still duking it out. Long and short, over the long-raging saga of Sonos suing Hios and Hios countersuing Sonos and all of that fun stuff. This has been going on since October 2014. There's a new judge who's presiding over this. The part of the story that I find intriguing is that this is still going on. As we know, patent infringement lawsuits can go on forever. But specifically, this new judge seems to be a little bit more apt to see this go to trial. If that does happen, that's going to happen in the second week of December 11th. What is intriguing is how much they are trying to push the infringement level as far as if it is just the technology or if it's even the active installation, which seems to be part of the situation right now. The quick question I had on this was, I know I've asked this before of does this court case matter, but specifically, should the court battle of this get as much press or as much interest from dealers and people who watch the industry as Sonos's privacy policy? Is this something that supersedes that, or should people be more concerned with the fact that they have a potentially overreaching privacy policy? Jason?
I mean, obviously, it's really important for any manufacturer to protect their patents, and obviously the level of this patent infringement is way over any of our heads in terms of knowing what is or isn't going on here. I have no clue when they're talking about these things, but I give them the right, Sonos the right to protect their patent. I give Denon the right to try and fight that patent if they don't believe it's real. But at least this hasn't gone as long as the Cedia versus Bose electronic lifestyles battle went on. That went on for 5, 6, 7 years. So
yeah.
We're still not even halfway there yet.
Not at all. Amy, beyond the lawsuit side of things, when this does come to a head and it does finalize, the working theory is that someone is going to be paying someone for some level of patent infringement, not to mention all the court legal fees and everything else that we don't really care about. But specifically on the patent side, if that does happen and say, for example, Denon and Hio specifically has to start paying Sonos an infringement fee, do you anticipate that causing price increases on the products, or are the parent companies going to swallow that debt? Is this just going to become something that gets washed under the rug, or is this something that we should watch on the possibility that our product prices are going to go up?
Well, I think if the courts were to rule in Sonos' favor, it would be hard for Denon to pass that along, only because somebody's going to say, why am I even buying Denon now when really they're selling the same technology that Sonos developed?
Mm-hmm.
From a manufacturer's point of view, of course, you don't want to absorb those costs, but you have to look at which one's going to lose the least amount of customers, and that's tough. I think, what was it? Sonos has 8 lawyers on file for this
Mm-hmm.
one. I mean, the amount of money that both sides are throwing at this, it's pretty amazing.
Oh, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's wrap that up. Thank you so much for joining us. Amy, if people want to connect with you, where can they do that?
Sure. Give me a call. Check us out at draperinc.com. That's the main website for us. My email is amadden@draperinc.com, and I'm always available. Shoot me a message.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. Jason, thanks for being here again. Where can people connect with you?
Obviously, you can see me on cepro.com, and you can follow me on Twitter at Jason W. Knott.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. For myself, if you'd like to find me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on Twitter and every other social platform. But more importantly, please stop by AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of our other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out all of our underwriters. We are incredibly thankful for their support and ask that you support them as well. Thanks for watching. And again, that's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.